Hi everyone, and today I am reviewing the Eddie Murphy Trilogy Beverly Hills Cop. I'd never seen these movies before, but I love Eddie Murphy, he is absolutely hilarious, and I got curious to check this trilogy out. I don't have much to say about the movies for an individual review, but I decided to review the entire trilogy in one as I feel it'd be better to talk about all three in one go. But first, let's go back to 1984 with the original Beverly Hills Cop film, directed by Martin Brest. It's about Axel Foley, whose close friend is killed when he arrives in the town and he goes investigating the case. Then he goes to the town of Beverly Hills and investigates a lot of crimes. So, after watching the first Beverly Hills Cop film, I absolutely loved it. I think it had a really good story, it had a great bunch of action, and some really hilarious comedy. And I like the execution of the film, and I like how it's kind of like Bad Boys a little bit, except it's older than Bad Boys as it came out a good few years before Bad Boys. And I do like the storytelling, and Eddie Murphy is just hilarious as Axel Foley. Axel Foley is just great, and the banter between Axel and John and William, I think is just my favourite first two films. It's hilarious, and the amount of bad language is just awesome. It's just really fun. It's just epic to see them communicate, and just their banter and just their dialogue is just great. Every other character in the first film is really good too, and it's kind of hard for me to talk about them really, and maybe some could have been used a little more character development, but other than that, I really love the first Beverly Hills Cop film, and the music is really good as well, and the beginning is just amazing. I personally loved the first film of this trilogy, and it really blew my mind. I'm going to give the original Beverly Hills Cop a 9 out of 10. The second film was released in 1987 and was directed by Tony Scott and follows the story of Axel and his fellow cop buddies who investigate more crimes as the crime rate in Beverly Hills has gotten more higher and more dangerous. Going into Beverly Hills Cop 2, part of me was excited. I really was looking forward to seeing these characters again, and I was looking forward to seeing how they take the story. Sadly, the film is a massive disappointment. Now, the good things about it are Axel Foley is still great, and John and William are still really good, and the banter between them, I think, is a big improvement over the first one, and it is nice to see them have banter with each other. But I just think it's a disappointment. The story is bland, and a lot of it comes down to its pacing. It has some great action sequences, but it cuts from action sequence to slow moments, and believe me, there's a lot of slow moments in this film, which made the movie really slow and just drag and drag and drag, and I was kind of bored throughout a lot of it, which makes me sad because I really loved the pace of the first film. The story just didn't have the same intelligence, the same smartness of the original, and that disappointed me because I loved the first film. I loved the story. The execution was just great. And the second film just feels like a big, well, hey, we had a great story, let's just make a sequel, but then it's like you have a towel and that just covers the greatness of the original. Now, and the characters, well, apart from Axel, John, and William, everyone else was kind of bland, really. And I just kind of think that the villains, my god, they were incredibly bland. They had so little character to them. The music was fine, I guess, but just wasn't as great as I thought it would be. And just, honestly, I just found the second Beverly Hills Cop to be a massive, massive, massive disappointment. While it is hilarious like the original, it's sadly a disappointment for me, and that's why I'm going to give Beverly Hills Cop 2 a 6 out of 10. The third and final movie released in 1994 and is directed by John Landis, where Axel has to go against a bunch of criminals but also needs to work at a theme park known as Wonderworld. Beverly Hills Cop 3 I was not expecting to be great. At best I thought it would be decent. I expected it to be at least on par with the second one, but nowhere near as great as the first one. But not only was I surprised by how underrated it is, I just loved it. And it's absolutely hilarious. I do think the character banter is better handled in the first two films since John isn't in this one, and I think without him the character banter isn't there, and it makes the characters' banter communication not as great as the first two films. But I really love the humor of this film, especially in the Wonderworld scene. The Wonderworld sequences were really good, especially that action sequence. That actually made me worry for what was going to happen. And the scene with the elephant is just amazing. It's just perfect. It's one of my favorite scenes in a comedy. It's just so funny. It just made me laugh my ass off. It was hilarious.
Hey, nice little kid. How you doing? Nice little boy. Good to see you.
I
I love you, Okie dokie.
Hey, Okie, do the Okie shuffle.
Okay, dokie, okay, dokie, 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 okay.
That's not right. It's like this.
Hey, listen, kid, I'm okie dokie and I changed the steps. You got a problem with that?
You're supposed to be nice to me no matter what I do.
Oh, you little motherfucker, I'll kick your ass. Yeah?
I guess the villains could have been a little more developed. There's just not a lot of character to them. And the action sequences, some of them are actually quite brutal. The first two films had their brutal sequences, like they were intense, but I feel the third one, they got a little more violent than usual. And the music was good too. I really liked the ending, and I think Beverly Hills Cop 3 is a really satisfying conclusion to the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. I was beyond surprised by how good Beverly Hills Cop 3 actually is, and I think it's a very underrated conclusion to this trilogy. And for that, I give the third and final movie a 9 out of 10. After watching Beverly Hills Cop 3 for the first time, I was thinking to myself which I think is the best of the three films, the first or the third. And after thinking about it, I'd go with the original. I just feel the story is just more fun and just slightly better, but I loved going through this trilogy, even though I think the second one isn't great and is a massive disappointment. But I think they more than made up for that with the third film, and I enjoyed watching them, and I did enjoy reviewing them. What are your thoughts on this Beverly Hills Cop trilogy? Which one is your favourite and why? I've heard rumours of a Beverly Hills Cop 4, and it's supposed to be on Netflix. Apparently it's been through a lot of errors with beginning production, and lots of talk about it has been going on for years. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait until Netflix releases a trailer. But until then, skadoosh everyone, and stay tuned for my next review, which, whatever that will be. But skadoosh everyone.